Welcome, everyone. I'm just gonna give it like a couple more minutes. You guys can maybe let me know where you're coming in from or how long you've been a part of the apothecary. I'd love to know. But this is working. Ooh, New Hampshire. I want to say that that's New Hampshire. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Alabama, welcome. Well, I've actually never been to Alabama. I just realized, but thank you for being here. Oh, I see your name reframing menopause. Lovely. Okay, let's give it like a couple more minutes. So happy you guys could join. You just had like a little bit of lunch in my team. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll have to go to Alabama. I've definitely heard some really amazing things. Like, people love it there. I feel like people who go don't leave, and that's how you know it's a good place. Okay. I'll give it, like we'll give it till the 35. We'll give it till the 35. If anyone's coming in, you can just tell me where you're calling in from or attending from. I guess you don't really call into this. It's not like a Zoom meeting. Ooh, my friend's here. Hey, girl. Hey, Glenn Breezy. Okay. Give it one more minute and then we'll get started. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, South Carolina. Thanks for saying that. I know, I'm really excited about this one. Um, I feel like it's gonna be really good. Okay. So how many of you actually saw the essay that I wrote on Thursday about hair loss protocol, um, healing it at the root? It's like the nutrition plan, pretty much everything I did. Um, Let me know if you saw that. And if there's a lot of you who didn't see that, then we'll go into a lot of what that said. Okay. Yay. Good. Awesome. Okay. All right. So that's okay. So we'll do a little mix of both. We'll add some things and we'll talk about a little bit about what I wrote. Um, okay, so we'll go ahead and get started since it's at the 35. If any questions come up while I'm speaking, because oftentimes I feel like I'm just speaking into a void, like definitely write them in the chat and I'll either answer them as I go or at the end, I'll answer all questions. And I really am trying to do more lives. I've pretty much been doing them every Friday because I really enjoy having like an engaged community. I enjoy writing articles that, you guys want to see. I enjoy like having that feedback. And also I enjoy just answering questions in general. So I found personally myself, like, as a patient of a doctor, like, it was really hard for me to get my questions answered when I really wanted to, so I wanted to kind of open the space to, like, live Q&As for that as well. So if you have any, like, health questions, life questions, I want this space to be a space where I answer that all. I am trialing this month for all my free subscribers just to see, like, the engagement and test it and things like that, and then next month, it'll convert to just for my paid subscribers. So, because I do want it to still feel like an intimate space, like, so that's what it will convert to next month, but for now, I just wanna kind of see, uh tester it and see how people like it and how people utilize it because I feel like for me when I was creating the apothecary like I was creating it as this gap that existed between like medicine and education and uh not even just education but like how we understand our bodies as women oftentimes we don't have time to talk to our doctors about really specific things so I wanted to do that here um while we're here, I do have some updates as well for the apothecary, and if you're not able to tune in now, then this will be posted later. But I'm completely overhauling it because well, I think I say this a lot, but when I started this, I had no clue what I was doing or where this was going, and now I actually do, and so it is going to grow into a space where I talk about similarly women's health topics. I do also want to get into like new places that women's health research is going, whether that's like female technology things that can start to bridge some of those gaps, or it's beauty and skincare and it'll be kind of a compilation of all of that. So if you go to my website page now, I've listed essentially the topics and I don't know, I guess it kind of feels like this like magazine for like a biochemist who's like also a doctor who's also intuitive. So it's like a holistic place where you can just get information about your body and your life and it's all going to be there and organized and yeah and essentially going into the next month I'll have a cadence where you'll get 1 to 3 essays that have to do um, with either a women's health topic that I do a deep dive on, like this month was hair loss, um, and or it'll be like a product of the month that I choose that I go into the ingredients of it because I feel like my biochemist side is like really missing that part of me and something that I do just in my own time is essentially like look into ingredients and see how they work within the body. So I do that for like makeup, I do it for skincare products, I do it for body care products. And so I'm going to start bringing you guys into that world as well so that when you're creating your routines, you're creating your and choosing products, you start to learn what's actually in them, which is really exciting. It's so interesting for me. I actually was a chemist before I became a doctor. So this is like my thing. Um, and then like 1 to 3 times a month, I'll post an essay that has to do with life. Like this month, we talked about like the death of the good girl, and like last month, it was about like people pleasing and things like that. Because I find that health and your body and whatever you're trying to do, whether it's your skin or autoimmunity, like it all comes back to what's going on in your life. And oftentimes, what's happening in your life will mimic whatever health condition you're going through. And I feel like this understanding and this practice isn't as talked about or capitalized on in Western medicine, not specifically as Western medicine, but mostly just because there's just no time in a doctor's appointment to talk about like what's going on in your life and how that might be influencing your health. So I want this space to kind of bridge those gaps because, and I'll talk about it throughout this call. For me, every single health experience I've had has been reflected in something that's going on in my life. And so with that, I'll just tell you about my journey with hair loss. So I was in my second or first year of residency. I had been at residency for like 7 months at this time. It was January of my first year. And I pretty much was working a night shift as we do as doctors. And it was like a 14-hour night shift. And I was on hour like six, maybe. And I looked in the mirror and I had this like widening to the part that I normally wore, which was like a side part. And I just noticed that like it was like a little bit bigger. And if you're someone like me, like I'm very in tune with like just how I look also, but like my body in general. Like I know what's going on with it. Like I'm constantly aware. So when I noticed, it was honestly, like, so small, I can't even believe that I even saw it, but it was, like, alarming, right? And so it's like I don't know what time it was. I think it was, like, 11 o'clock at night, maybe 12, and I'm looking in this, like, fluorescent lighting at the hospital, and I'm just like, "What is happening? Like, what is going on?" Um and I was like, "Okay, don't freak out because that's not gonna do anything, but I'll just note this, and then when I get home, I'll look at it later." I go home, I take a shower, and I pull out, like, literally a lock of hair that's, like, this big, and it just, like, comes out of my head in the shower, and I'm just like, "What is happening?" Like, why did that just happen? Like, mind you, like, I, up until this point, have had, like, a normal amount of hair loss where it's, like, not considered even hair loss, it's just, like, hair shedding. You shed 50 to 100 strands a day, which is very normal, and that looks different for every person because I'll say, like, curly-haired people, you're gonna be shedding 50 strands to 100 strands every day, and you probably aren't washing your hair as much or brushing your hair as much, so that'll look a lot more when you go to wash it. But on average, it should be about 50 to 100 strands a day. So when I oh, sorry, let me just plug in my phone. Just a little pause. Okay. So when I went to, like, look at the spot that I had noticed before, I saw that it was, like, slightly getting bigger, obviously, because I just pulled out this huge lock of hair. And I'm like I go to my partner at the time, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like, can you please, like, look through my head and see, like, what's going on? Am I having do I have any bald spots? Like, what's happening?" You know? And so he's, like, looking through my head, and he's like, "Okay, like, that yeah, I see that one, that looks a little bigger, and then I see this other one back here that's, like it's, like, completely, like, bald, pretty much. Like, it's, like, a hole, like, that big in the back of my head." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, don't freak out, don't freak out." Mind you, like, you know, I feel like there's an amount of vanity that is just human. Like, I think there's an attachment that we have to what we look like, whether that comes from childhood, whether that comes from, like, early experiences, but, like, for me, my attachment comes with my hair, and I think it's because, I was definitely bullied for having, like, curly hair when I was younger, and I think just Black women in general, we get just inundated with societal information that tells us, all this shit about our hair that we just have to essentially unwind and unravel to be able to embrace what our hair actually looks like naturally, and so it took me so long to do that, and then to basically be losing my hair in these, like, large amounts, it was just, like, really triggering and really psychologically traumatizing, and so that essentially continued for, like, 2 months. 2 months, I was, like, losing pretty big chunks of my hair. I got to, like, 3 pretty large spots on my scalp, like, noticeable, like, I literally had to start, like, wearing my hair back and, like, covering them intentionally because they were very noticeable, and around that time, I just did what I normally do, which is just if I'm going through something, I will learn absolutely every single thing about it. I will read just books and books and books. I will research. That's just how my brain works. And so I essentially just took in all this information. Like, I don't know, I think I read like 20 books at this time. Books that talked about hormones, books that talked about autoimmunity, books that talked about like the biochemistry behind the follicles and the hair. I read holistic books that talked about like holistic methods for growing hair. I attended a conference that talked about hair loss. Like, it was like I just was like consuming everything I could about this topic so that when I went to heal from it, I had all of the information in one place and I could create this system for myself that I knew would work because at this point now I know everything about this topic, so I know how to fix it. Um What's interesting about hair loss from a scientific perspective is that there are many ways to acquire hair loss. Whether you're looking at it from like the Western medical perspective, where you've got, autoimmune hair loss, which is called like alopecia areata. You have tension hair loss, which the method that I wrote about is less supportive to that, which I write in there because tension hair loss essentially just have to stop wearing the style that is causing the tension on your scalp. If you think about it, like a hair follicle is strong, but it's not that strong. So if you're pulling it, like it's gonna eventually come out at the root, and that's what tension hair loss is. So you've got that type of hair loss. You've got female male pattern balding, which are both due to the same mechanism, which is essentially a higher amount of testosterone, and an enzyme called 5-HT, which essentially converts that higher amount of testosterone into a more I don't I don't want to say soluble. It's like it's not detrimental, but it's kind of like your body doesn't know what to do with DHEA. And that is essentially what gets built up in the hair follicle when you have uh, female or male pattern balding. And what most people don't know is that actually, if you do what you need to do at the beginning of that starting of uh, any sort of hormonal causes of balding, then you can 100% cure that and not have that problem. So what's really interesting is like now that I know that, and I'll see, there's like a ton of people that are bald in our population. So like it's just really interesting to me because if we like talked about this stuff more, people like wouldn't go bald essentially because there are things that you can do to stop that from happening, and yes, maybe you're going to be doing them for the rest of your life, but you essentially never need to go bald. The issue that happens with that is that a lot of people end up being you can have like denial. I definitely went through that. Any process of grief, and like I feel like hair loss puts you into a process of grief. You're gonna experience some form of denial, and that's what causes people to not seek the care that they need early enough. And so by the time that they seek care, it's usually too late and the follicle has died. So that's just a really interesting thing about hair loss that when I learned, I just feel like you can't unlearn it. Um, but because there are these kind of different avenues for hair loss, when you're having it, I think it's just important to target absolutely all of them. Like, because the reality of it is a lot of these things just merge together. Like, if you're someone who's going through autoimmune hair loss, like you might kickstart yourself into a DHEA response because your cortisol is really high. And so now you've got female pattern balding plus autoimmune hair loss, and like you don't know which one and it's just it can get like this. So it's really important to just create a protocol or create a system where you can follow that is going to target all of those things. And so for me, specifically, I had that. I had alopecia areata, which is the autoimmune hair loss, which usually progresses to alopecia totalis, which is essentially you lose all of your hair to an autoimmune response. Um, if you think about autoimmunity, the mechanism of autoimmunity is the same for any autoimmune condition you can go through. I mean, even if we talk about just women's health conditions, like autoimmunity plays a huge role in those, whether it's endometriosis, fibroids, ovarian cysts. Like, think about, your immune system essentially just being dysregulated. Um, and because of that, it's important to understand that when we're targeting hair loss at the root, you can't just target it with a different nutrition plan or just start eating, taking this hair supplement and using this hair wash. Because at the end of the day, what is causing this autoimmune response is something called psychoneuroimmunology, which is our understanding of why women are more prone to autoimmunity than men. And at the root of that is going to be some subconscious emotional experience, situation, stimulus that's dysregulating your nervous system. Your nervous system is now in fight or flight, and that is causing your immune system to react. So when we think about that reaction, the idea is that your body wants to be